Yeah, don't worry, be happy. Don't worry. And then it's got Robin Williams in there and all kinds of. It's a really, really cool song. You know, Bobby McFerrin sings this song. It's actually a takeoff on a Bob Marley song. I think the song's called "Don't Worry About the Day" or "Don't Worry About a Thing." It's kind of a fun song, but in the song kind of parallels life if you start watching the video. Anybody remember the video? So in the video, at one point, Bobby McFerrin's sitting portraying like a business guy, and he's reading the paper, and in the paper you can see the headlines that says stock market crash, and that means he's lost all of his money. And then in the next clip, he is on the he's looking over a ledge and it's way far down, and then the next clip he's jumping off. Now they make it funny after that, he's floating away or whatever, but that really does parallel life. What he was doing in that is worrying. Is that right? You know, people worry. The Bible tells us not to worry. The song tells us not to worry. We have so many indications in our life to not worry, but we tend to continue to worry. There's some of you today that came in here today worrying about something. Some of you come in today, you were thinking about you had this problem. Maybe you weren't even going to come to church today, but you were worrying about this thing. You said, I'm going to come to church and maybe somebody at church can help me. Or maybe you even thought maybe Jesus can help me.
Yes, amen.
And that's a good thing. So let's call Jesus in here. Let's be in prayer. Dear Lord, we just ask you to come into this service today. And Lord, no matter what I say out of my mouth, I would have you and ask you and I would beg you to have each person here hear your word. Amen. Oh, Lord, just fill us with your spirit. Excite us, ignite us, get us ready to hear how to not worry so that we can be happy. Amen. We ask it in the name of the risen Christ. Amen. Amen. Man, I'll tell you what, I'm a worrier.
Really?
You know, yeah, I worry. Our human nature, I got to redesign the stairs. I need room. I got to move. I put on a little weight, and it gets behind me. I knock stuff over. No, seriously, we worry about everything. And the reason we worry about things is because we are fixers. That's our nature, to fix stuff. We think we're supposed to, hi, Bobby, how are you? You're looking good, man. We think we're supposed to fix everything. We think that's our function in life. And partly it kind of is, but who's in control? God is in control, absolutely. But we forget that so many times. You know, we just get all kinds of stuff comes up and just flies up at us. I hate sports. If you know me, you know I hate sports. I think, you know, and the reason is because I think sports figures are overpaid crybaby. Oh, well, that's a whole different thing. Anyway. But I think a sports analogy goes very well here. You know, worry is thinking about things we can't control. When I think about baseball, it's probably the perfect game. If I was going to like sports, I would like baseball. Danny, you like sports? You don't even like baseball. He's like the manager of the Dayton Dragons. He goes to every Dayton Dragons. But baseball is the perfect game because there's a play for everything, and you can prepare or whatever. I like to think of the batter. You know, when the batter, he's in control. But you know what he's in control of? The bat. That's the only thing he's in control of. When you're batting up there, you're in control of how you stand, how you hold the bat, what the cut's going to be, how fast you're going to swing it, where you're going to miss it. Now, did that look good? I look like a sports guy. But when I'm playing, I'm like, the only thing we have control of as a batter is the bat and how it comes in. And if you hang the ball from the ceiling on the rope, or if you put it on the tee like here in practice, and you hit that, even a bad batter like me can knock that ball out of the park because I've controlled the situation. But in a baseball game, it's a bit different. Yes. Baseball's like life. There's somebody else in control of the other parts. Yes. There's a pitcher. First time I wrote that, I wrote pitcher, and I was like, why is there a pitcher in the... There's a pitcher, and the pitcher's in control of how fast that ball is going to be coming at you. And life is like that. And the Bible tells us that the devil is in control of this world. He's going to throw us some curveballs. He's always out there. That pitcher's job in their life is to throw that ball in such a way as to not hit that bat, or at least to cause the least amount of damage in that play. Life ain't like that. Life comes at us so hard in so many different directions and so fast, and the only thing that we can do is the only thing we control is how we are going to engage that life, that ball, when it gets here. How we're going to meet it when it gets there at 100 miles an hour. And that's hard. That's really, really hard. When we think about that, we think about that fixing piece. What can we do? When we worry, we think about how can we put all of the things in order in such a way that whatever this bad news we got, or whatever this thing is going to happen, or whatever this bill is going to be, how can we fix all these things that we can be in control in such a way that it's not going to hurt us, that it's not going to be a problem, that it's going to be a minimal problem? And we can't do anything about it. Although, anybody ever watched the show Roseanne? Yeah. You remember Roseanne? She used to be funny before she was political. She was hilarious, but she has the best formula for beating the bills. And so, we have problems paying all our bills and getting all that stuff to order. She said, well, I would take the light bill and I would send it to the gas company, and the gas bill to the cable company. And then when they got it, they had to call me, and that gave me an extra few days. I like Roseanne. I still use that. Not at CarMax, so I send them the bill. Okay. Bobby holds my note on my car, so. Everybody by now knows the serenity prayer. If you're in recovery, you think it's that prayer was invented for recovery, but the guy who wrote it was born in the 1870s or something. And, of course, recovery programs in theory didn't really start until the 1930s. So there's a little gap in there. But this prayer's been around a long, long, long time. You kind of know how it goes. God grant me to accept the things I... All right. So the most popular part in that is telling us about what we can control and what we can't control. It says, the things we can control. What can we control? Ourselves. It's so funny. That prayer is about, exactly right, our choices. That prayer is about, it's telling us that if we want to be in control of something, even if we do send the phone bill to the electric company, we didn't control nothing. We just delayed the inevitable. We can only control ourselves and the decisions we make and how we react to that life as it's coming at 100 miles an hour to us. Now, if you ever heard this whole poem or prayer, anybody heard the long version? No. You guys? A few of you? Yeah, okay. Well, let's read it. It should be on your little flip flyer in there, in your handout. Guys, go ahead and read that. Let's go ahead and do a collection again while we're... sorry, I started out as a Baptist preacher. Living one day at a time, enjoying one day at a time, accepting hardships. Listen to this. Accepting the hardships as a pathway to peace. Taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that he will make all things... Right, wait a minute. Everybody say this next word. If I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. It's a beautiful 80-year-old prayer. It's a perfect study for us as we take a look at trying to be happy and not worry. Jesus laid this plan out perfectly, and Matthew, in a very insightful and a very, very clear way, writes it down for us. This guy, his name that wrote this poem is Rhino or something like that. I may mispronounce that. He was a great theologian in his time, big religious guy like Billy Graham or one of those guys. He wrote all these things. He did a lot of stuff. But I believe he spent a lot of time in Matthew, and obviously from this prayer he did. Everybody, we've been going through the Beatitudes for weeks. And we've been in Matthew in chapter 5, and we're really taking a look at, this is a beautiful chapter and a beautiful book. And that this is the book that kind of tells us, it tells us the gospel, so it tells us what happened, and then it tells us how to be Christians. It also kind of gets us on the same plane as the disciples. I love the disciples, as I always say, they weren't the brightest bunch of guys. They're a little slow. I fit right in. If I was there, he'd go, "Oh, Dan, come on, you probably can't do this, but give me." So they're asking him in this chapter how to pray. They've been with him like 2.5 years. Oh, by the way, I see you doing this thing every day, and you're doing this demon thing, and you're talking to this guy, and how do you do that? That's the biggest question as Christians. Almost every new Christian's like, I really want to get how to do this prayer thing. This chapter is beautiful. It kind of helps us know how to live and how to be Christians. So this guy's a fan of this. He's taking a look at this. He puts this prayer together, and he lays the scriptures right over it. One of the homeworks I'm going to give you later on has to do with that. So let me ask you a question. What's your name? Uh-huh. April? Say it again. Kayla? That's my name. Oh, my gosh. Let me ask you a question. It was a little funny. Come on. Do you think in our lives we can never worry? Did you understand that? It's kind of hard. I kind of have a double speak going as a thing. Do you think that in the rest of our lives that we can just say, I'm never going to worry again? Probably not, right? Can we never worry? Man, that is such a great question when I think about it, because the song says, don't worry, be happy. The Bible tells us that as we think that we are, so we believe that if we believe the Bible tells us all we have to do is put our head right, get our head right, and we think right, we don't have to worry. The problem is we're people. And the Bible's written to people who are worrying about stuff, and they're saying, don't worry, because God is what? God is in control. They keep reminding us because we forget God is in control. We need to lay it at His feet. Now, I just preached the same or a version of this message about an hour ago at Omer Park. And in Omer Park, they read the scriptures before we start. And we don't do that here. And so generally Jeff puts them in the sermon, and then he reads them to you, with you, for you, or however, until we understand. Today I'm going to ask you to look these up yourself. I want you to look in Matthew 5, and not right now. Well, you can right now. Here, no. Somebody got a Coke? I'll just say here, we'll wait. No. They don't get any funnier, but they don't quit coming. They just keep on coming. Part of your homework today is you're going to go through Matthew 5 in this next week, and you're going to look at this poem, this prayer, and you're going to put them together and find out where it goes. I'm going to tell you, here's a spoiler alert. At the end, you're going to find out this poem says, don't worry, be happy. John Wesley says that we're supposed to strive for perfection. He says, lest we strive for it, we won't get it. That's one of the problems. We say, we can't be perfect, so screw it. I'm just going to whatever. I'll run over the rabbit in the street. That's too hard to go around. Whatever it is that's a problem, we get overwhelmed with it, and we decide to worry about it. If we don't strive to be perfect, we're never going to be perfect. Now, we probably will never be perfect before we get on the other side, but wouldn't it be better? Who is that guy, real tall guy, plays basketball? He's real. You mean there's more than one tall guy that plays basketball? He's real popular. He's Jordan, I think's his name. Yeah, I was going to say there's some tennis shoes that he's named after. Anyway, he says, shoot for the moon, because if you miss, you're what? You land in the stars. You know, when we take a look at this, when we think about that, we put that together with worry. If we can just change that focus to what we're trying to control, to think about what God can control, we're going to look at this completely different. You know, we got great track records. I talk to people every day, and I had 3 different jobs basically, and so I talk to people in different places in their life. Generally, though, when people actually want to talk to me, because I'm obviously not a nice guy, because people don't generally want to talk to me unless they're in crisis. And so when they're in crisis, they'll pull me together and they'll say, "Hey, Dan, I want to talk to you about this." And one of the things we get to is I tell them, "Don't worry." I don't necessarily say be happy. I say, "Don't worry," because of a couple things. First of all, the chances of what you think are going to happen are minute. And the chances actually of, if it does happen and it be as bad as you thought it was going to be, are even smaller. You see, we have such a great track record as human beings. Everybody in here in this room, even though you all didn't raise your hand, have worried about something. Some of you are worried about really bad things that might have happened. And the proof that you're here today is they probably didn't happen. I'm terrible about this. I worry about stuff. Jeff tells a story, and I won't tell a story, but I have a similar story. It is in the middle of the night, and my side is hurting so badly. And 3 o'clock is the time of night that I just give up on everything. So it's about 3 o'clock in the night and it hurts so bad. Finally, I call the ambulance. And so the ambulance comes and they come and I'm sure I have appendicitis and it's going to burst and I'm going to die. We'll come to find out even that's not the prognosis of that. But anyway, somebody told me what prognosis means. I don't really know what that means. Anyway, they come in and they're with me. And do you never notice when you've got a pain what the medical people do? They poke it. That hurt? They hit me a couple times, and I said, "Burp." And they laughed, and they left. And that was a $500 burp, just so you know. That's what it costs to have the ambulance come to your house. It was gas. Most of the time, what we worry about is not really what the problem really is. We project on it. So I tell people, don't worry. God is in control. We need to put it at God's feet. Sometimes we do. I do it every time. I never worry. See, I never lie, obviously, because the first thing I said was I worry. My first move is to worry. I got kids, so what do you do about kids? You worry. We tend to worry. But if we could at least make our second move to not worry, to trust in God. I wonder if you would just take a second right now and think back. I'm saying 100% of the times that you worried about something tragic happening, it didn't happen. And even if it did, it could have not been as bad. Now, I'm not saying it never, ever happens. I'm saying the odds are that it's not going to happen. Think back right now just of the things that you worried about that never happened. We're just going to take about 20 minutes. Go ahead. Dan's looking back to see if he's got enough tape in his. I get you started. We worry about all kinds of stuff. I've had people, I think I'm going to lose my kids. I think the kids are never going to go back to school. That's kind of funny. Yeah. I'm going to get a wreck when I go on the drive. I can't pay my insurance payment. I'm going to get a bad diagnosis from the doctor. Almost 100% of those times, it doesn't come true. And when it does come true, sometimes it's even as bad. God is always in control. He's there to take care of us and to watch over us and to give us comfort because there is, I'm not a teacher, you have to help me. There is going to be pain in our life. I would love to just sit up here and say, all of life is going to be puppies and butterflies if you got Jesus on your side. It's not going to be, but He's going to be with us. And He's going to do something for us. If you've ever been in a bad situation and you lived through it, Jesus has taught you how to help someone else through that situation.
Amen. Yes. Speak the truth. Yes. Sometimes
the pain is so much, and we can't understand. We can't figure it out. He's teaching us how to He's bringing us through it.
That's right.
So we can help someone else.
Amen.
One of our biggest problems is we think we can control everything. I said earlier, we're the fixers. We think we can pull it together, that we are the people that are supposed to be in charge. And every time we take on too much, God brings us to our knees. Because when we take on too much and we think we're in charge and we put our place in God, it will all fall apart. It will fall apart, not sometimes, not maybe, not possibly, not 99.9% of the time, but every time. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it will always, always happen. This prayer is such a great prayer for people who worry. The reason why I like it is biblically based. There's no doubt about it. It just jumps out from Matthew. He talks about how to live. He says, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time. The Bible tells us exactly to do that. We have to choose to slow down, or he's going to slow us down. We have to accept hardships. Things happen. Pain happens in our life. And those are set up for pathways to a peaceful life. Because we have the example, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. We know it's going to happen. Life's going to come at us 100 miles an hour. That pain is, we're going to use that pain to move forward. I wish I could tell you that there's never going to be any pain. It's such on the top of my head that every time I talk to people, I wish I could just tell them, you're going to get through it this time, it's never going to happen again. Jesus told us in the Bible over and over again that he's going to be with us, but this world is going to throw us some curveballs. You know, the devil has a great change up. He is there for us. He is ready every time we get this close. How many times you heard this, Charmaine? I was doing so good. Everything was happening just right. It was all in line. Everything was right in the right place. And then just it fell apart. I was even trying to do the right things. I'm going to tell you now, the devil attacks you when you're the closest to God. I hate sports. But man, the guy that makes the tackle at the 99-yard line from 1 to 99? Or to go back down. So the guy that makes the tackle that keeps the guy from going into the end zone, he is the hero. You stopped him. For the other team, the guy that was going, he was the hero. The devil's always standing there at the 99-yard line or the 1 yard, whatever that is. He's standing there. He's trying to keep us out of the end zone. I debated as I wrote this. I wrote this twice. Jeff, we send our sermons to each other, and sometimes you'll put a little note, hey, try to put this word here, or try this there, or, oh, that's a great sermon, or whatever. I always expect to get it back. Oh, it's a great sermon, go with that. Oh. Not this time. So I wrote this sermon right after a tragedy in my family. And I thought I was writing this positive sermon, and it was scary and sad. And Jeff sent it back to me with some corrections. So there was about, I don't know, I want to say 1,800 words in this, and he took out about 1,720. So I rewrote it. And what I wanted to do, I changed the whole thing. I want to tell us that if we don't worry, we will be happy. If we are happy, we won't worry. I want to let us know that God is in control. Did I tell you I hate sports? Yeah. So I won't tell you another sports analogy. We got one more hour, right? Are we good? We forget God's in control. That's right. Even, I don't care how good a Christian you are. Right. We forget God's in control. And generally, the devil attacks us at our weakest point. And it might not be, like I said, when we're doing everything great. He comes at you through your family. Yes. He comes at, if you watch any good TV show about drug cartels or the mafia, and when they can't get to you, where do they go? Through your family. They're the best analogy in the world of how the devil works. He finds a way to get you, and he comes after you every way he can. So about a week and a half ago, my wife goes to the doctor, and they send her to have a test because they're concerned her hemoglobin, which I don't know what that is, but it's low. It's very low. She's bleeding somewhere. My wife's a tough guy, and so she waited a year before she went to the doctor. So she went and had the test, and then the test said, you have a tumor. And the tumor is 7 millimeters, which is about 2.5 inches around, I think, in your colon, in your intestine. I worried. I was devastated. We went and had the test, the colonoscopy. They did a biopsy. Got a call, and 2 more days later, they said it's cancer. I worried. Who's in control? God's in control. My wife is the toughest dude I've ever met in my life. She's a girl. This lady looked at me like, oh, your wife's a dude? What's up with that? She didn't worry. She looked at me like, God, she said the words, God's in control. He's got this. I don't have really a lot of friends, close friends. I had a lot of friends, and I had close friends. I called Jeff. Jeff said, God's in control. I like him. You did good. He did good too. He said, God's in control. So I don't have no insurance. So I know what's going to happen. They said, the doctor said, we'll worry about that later. So we walk into the doctor's office, and he has to take us through what's going to happen in surgery. And so we walk in, and I say us, and that's like when you guys say we're pregnant. It's not us. She's going to have the surgery. I was worried, and I was not happy. I walk into his office. He's got this big, long office. He's in Sycamore. He's all the way in. His name's Michael Keller. You can go check this out. As I walk in the office, you open the door, and doctors aren't particularly religious. Most doctors I know are intellectuals and, believe in science over reality, in my opinion. But I walk in his office, and there's this little lady sitting here. She's, 100 to 250 years old. So first thing I'm thinking, this guy knows how to keep people alive. I like him. Above her head is a sign that says God is in control. So we go back to his office, and he tells us all the things that can go wrong in addition to the cancer and the surgery, because he has to tell us. It's like when you watch those commercials and they give you that long list of things, and you go, why the hell would you take that with all of those? Did I say hell out loud? Yeah, I just wondered. He said, why would you take that with all those precautions? So he tells us. He said, I got to tell you that, but I've never had any of those, but it's up to you where we're going to have the surgery. All this process is months normally. This all happens within a week. They get her in. They go into the hospital. They tell her before she gets in, you'll be in the hospital a week. You'll be in recovery at least 6 weeks. You can't go to a nursing home. You don't have insurance, so you have to recover at home. We'll give you all this instructions. You do all the things you need to do. So we had the surgery. He tells me, it's the biggest tumor he's ever seen in a colon of a person that small that did 0 damage inside. God is in control. He took out a foot of bowel or colon or whatever it is, and he did a resection, and then they do a biopsy of that. They had 49 lymph nodes, and 4 of them, the cancer had spread, and only 4. And when he was in, he saw no other cancer. God is in control. He said he'd never seen a person that small, with no damage, with a immune system so good that it was able to contain that tumor within the bowel and not rupture the bowel. God is in control. She was in for 2 days, and she got really, really bad, and we got scared. They gave her 2 pints of blood because her hemoglobin, I'm saying that over and over again, I have no idea what that is, but dropped to 6 or 6.5. I worried. You all were praying. I don't know who's on the list, but you all were praying. And I kept getting these emails. You guys said, God is in control. Yes. We're praying. I saw people walking up and down the street. We're praying for your wife. I don't know who the heck you are. I said heck that time. I stole my preacher's license. They didn't give it to me. What a wonderful place this is. I was walking down the street last night, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock. There's a man, I'm assuming he goes here. He stops me and he says, can I pray for you? Or do you have any prayer requests? And I'm like, dude, I don't know who you are, but could you pray for my wife? He said, yeah. So I think he's going to write it down. You know how we do. Oh, I put you on the prayer list. Walk away. He snags me. And we prayed right there. New Hope Church has got amazing people. God is alive here. 6 weeks, they said, should be in a nursing home. Today, while we're here, my wife is actually working at her job. Now, granted, her job is sitting in a chair, taking people from money for stuff she makes, but she felt well enough to go out today. She drove yesterday. Before we left the hospital, he said, your convalescence time is actually going to only be 2 weeks because of what the shape you're in. And one of them is in the hospital, and last week was the other one. God is in control. I can't tell you how amazed I am, the outreach from the people here, the outreach from God. I can't tell you how amazed that when through my worry, I never for 1 second believed that she wouldn't be okay. I only believed that I didn't know how long it was going to take and how we were going to be able to do it. Did I mention I hate sports? Yeah. I just wanted to say that one more time. I don't have any insurance. So the colonoscopy, the first test, was $1,500. The lady comes out to us and says, well, you know you don't have any insurance. If you pay cash, we'll do it for $800. Guess how much money I had in my bank account? God is in control. The CAT scan, $10,000, got the bill yesterday. My wife said, go look at the bill. It's the CAT scans in. I said, no. Are you married? You know what your wife does when you tell her no? She says the same thing right over again. Go look at the bill. I look at the bill. Top line, $10,000. Minus $9,000. Actually, it said $900. They can't do math. God's in control. If it's money we're worried about, He's there. If it's health we're worried about, He's there. God is such a marvelous, miraculous, and powerful God. He is always there. He can take care of anything. We let him take care of the small stuff, and we try to take back the big stuff. We are not to worry. We can be happy if we choose to.